following program is brought to you by Cloudcast Media, a podcast leader in developing shows to elevate local brands, local stories, and local storytellers. Cloudcast, bringing ears and minds home.
The San Diego Union Tribune and Retirement Strategies Group present the Union Tribune Community Spotlight Show with your host, Drew Schlossberg.
I'm Drew Schlossberg of the San Diego Union Tribune, and making a return appearance on our Community Spotlight Show is Joseph Travers. He's the Executive Director of Saved in America. Good to see you again.
Hey, Drew. Nice seeing you again.
Absolutely, and what a treat that Joseph has brought into the studio with us all the way from across the country over here. Joshua Travers, police officer at Charlottesville, Virginia, and he's also a case manager of Saved in America. And yes, if the name sounds familiar, that is Joseph's son, Joshua. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Did you know that your dad was going to put you on live radio?
I found out last night right after our fundraiser.
Very, very good over here. And so you're coming on, and that's it. And you're doing a great start over here. How long have you been a police officer?
Been a police officer about 1 year now.
About 1 year. And what got you interested in serving us in that fashion?
My father, who was a police officer himself, and so I always wanted to do it. And I went to Charlottesville, and I saw that they were hiring, and I said, well, now's the time.
Very, very. Now, where were you before Charlottesville? Were you still back east, or were you come from somewhere else?
I was wrestling at Liberty University after the Marine Corps. I joined the Marines, finished, and decided to wrestle at Liberty University.
Really good. So heavyweight? What?
Yes, I was a All-American heavyweight there.
Oh, very, very nice over here. Not going to go out for the Olympics at all?
I'm actually debating on going to the World Police Games.
Oh, nice. We know the World Police Games on that. Joseph, did you wrestle as well?
Oh, no, I was a baseball player.
Okay, baseball player. Well, you can wrestle that. You know, they have some brawls out there in the middle of when you throw one up and in on somebody, they don't like it, they charge them out, and then you could use this skill sets of Joshua, right?
Absolutely.
Very good. Talk a little bit about the mission of Saved in America.
Yes, we're a group of former special operators, police officers who become licensed, insured private investigators who assist parents, law enforcement, and rehabilitation, high-risk rehabilitation facilities for juveniles, and we assist in locating and recovering children.
Okay, now, these are kids that have ran away, or the kids that have been taken against their will, so to speak, or all of the above?
All the above, but what we focus on is the runaway. And the reason we do that is based on a study by Dr. Jamie Gates and Dr. Amy Carpenter from USD in Point Loma Nazarene, which says that at minimum 30% of all runaways end up in child sex trafficking. So
right.
What we want to be is the preventive mechanism to try to get the runaway before the trafficker does.
Right. So then, and obviously the best way of doing it is make sure the kid doesn't run away in the first place, right? So, but listen, the kid is now run away, and how does the process work? Do you get a call from a local police department? You get calls from schools? You get calls from the family? How does that work?
Well, it's usually the family, and what we want to do, for example, as we coordinate with law enforcement, we want to fill a gap. That law enforcement, the resources, for example, if you get a call of a runaway and you go to the home, and
right.
I'll tell you this from a true case.
Please.
Young girl, 14 years old from Sparks, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Mom goes in the room to take her to school, windows open, daughter's gone, calls the patrol officer. Patrol officer shows up and says, well, do you know why your daughter ran away? And mom says, truthfully, no, I don't know, because the answer's in the social networking from the child. And what had happened on that case is a 28-year-old gang member had seduced her through social networking, took her down to Mexico, and then the detectives, of course, the police officer writes his report, gives it to a detective. They have no idea where all these clues are, and so mother calls us, and we go to our social networking investigation. We ended up locating the child within 4 days down in Mexico and coordinated with the law enforcement to bring her home.
So in that case, was the gang member, did she go willingly with the gang member, not knowing it was a gang member because they've been communicating on social media, or did he come actually upstairs and took her against her will?
It was a coercion.
Okay.
to where, you have a better life with me. I'll take you to the
Gotcha.
beach, that type of thing. And she fell for it, and he went up and said, meet me over here at night, and took her. And that was it.
So Joshua, as a case manager, what do you do?
So I take all the intel that comes through Saved in America, and I put it into a package that I average between 300 and 450 pages of intel and information. And I put in a usable intel package for the guys that we have on the ground, and also for a package because we have an attorney who's on the board. She's a lawyer on the board, and we actually try to go after these pimps and pedophiles to get money for the recovery. So they act as almost a case file that the attorney can use to go to court with. Right.
And so in that case there, then Sparks or whatever the case may be, you're getting the information, this has just happened, you're loading it into this file over here, and then everybody on the ground does their thing. This is what you folks do. You don't want to do this better than anybody, of course. And now you're building a case in this aspect of it. Does the family get charged at all for your services?
No, that's one of our pillars. The first pillar we talked about is who is part of our teams.
Right.
The second is never charge the parent. And then the third is, of course, be a volunteer.
Right. And so how many folks work with you, Joseph?
We have about 20, and then if you add on like the attorney on staff and my people that work sort of like administratively, so it's anywhere between 30, 32. And then we also have 100 reserves across the country. And Joshua now has, I think, 6 or 7 peace officers and a special operator on the East Coast, so we can expand what we do over in the East Coast.
Right. So how much, will you get a call from somebody in Nebraska and you would take care of it, or you don't know any boundaries? You'll go anywhere.
We'll go anywhere as long as, the qualifications are there. It's a child under the age of 18.
Okay.
That is a runaway. And then we'll go ahead and have the parent go onto our website, which says, need our help, fill out a series of applications, a power of attorney, so we can communicate with government agencies, et cetera.
Gotcha, makes sense.
Yeah, and then we'll start immediately into a social networking mode to try to figure out, how did this runaway get coerced to run away?
Right, and would you say that of the runaways, and how many people run away a day? It must be a pretty big number, correct?
Well, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, who we partner with on the Human Smuggling Trafficking Center in Washington, D.C., at any one time, there's 300,000 runaway or missing children in this country.
Right, and then how many of those 300,000 eventually decide, I better come back home, or I'm going to come back safely? Is that a very small number, I imagine?
Well, according to the study we talked about, so if you put the math together, if there's 300,000 kids and a minimum of 30% are taken by a trafficker, you might have 100,000 children right now in this country being trafficked.
Right. And are they trafficked here, or are they taken to other countries? Is it mainly done in the United States or North America?
This is all, we're talking about American children in America.
Wow. And I know there's a lot been written about this here in San Diego. We work pretty closely with the San Diego Women's Foundation, and I'm not sure if you work with them, but they give grants out for different causes, and this year's cause was on human trafficking. I'm not sure if you knew that at all.
Oh yes. And we have here in San Diego a very proactive county. The Board of Supervisors, we have a district attorney, Summer Steffen, who is very proactive in child sex trafficking. Right.
Exactly. We are chatting with Joseph Travers. He's the executive director of Saved in America. He's also the founder in 2014. Honored to have his son in the studio with us all the way from Charlottesville. He's a police officer and also a case manager for Saved in America. You had an event last night, Joseph?
Absolutely. We had our 3rd annual Child Saved Not Sold fundraising event, gave out a scholarship to a survivor of child sex trafficking, a young girl that went missing at 14 years old from Utah, who we helped with the assistance of the City of San Diego Police Department recover here in San Diego. So she's been through her treatment now, which took about 1.5 years. And the scholarship was to try to help her go through cosmetology school.
That's terrific. And where was it held, the fundraiser?
That was held at the Stanzia Hotel.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Very, very, very good. And is my good friend Stephanie Brown on your board?
Absolutely. Stephanie's like an angel to us. She just works so hard. I don't know where she gets all the hours in a day.
Because she's got a lot of energy. And so Stephanie Brown and I worked together at the UT for several years, and she's a senior VP at the Manchester Financial Group, but has got a heart of gold, is always engaged in the community doing things. So we wanted to give a shout out to Stephanie as well on this. Where do you see, and again, so the event, I'm going to go back to the event. How many people attended the event last night?
We had, what was it, Joshua, about 170, approximately, 180?
Yeah,
folks?
good.
Yeah.
That's good. So that was your third annual. Hopefully you'll continue to grow that area as well. You must, because of your background, of course, current police officer, former police officer, you must have no problem getting cooperation from law enforcement, offices around the country. Is that correct?
Well, we have cooperation because we know where our boundaries are.
Right.
For example, you won't find, we haven't out of 233 assists to assist parents and law enforcement, we haven't touched a child.
Right.
Or touched anyone.
Right.
Because what we do is we do surveillance and gather intelligence and hopefully give that over to law enforcement so they can do what they do best, which is get the child back physically and then start an investigation on how the child, what to do with the bad guy.
Right. And there's a perfect example of teamwork in that aspect of it. As you mentioned, Joseph, the boundaries over here, no one's stepping on somebody else's toes, and certainly it can cause some other issues in that aspect. When we come back from break, let's talk about how our listeners can help support your efforts, whether it's, donations or whether it's giving you ideas or maybe it's working with social media, whatever you think our listeners can support you when we come back with our friends from Saved in America. Joseph Travers, Executive Director and Founder, joined by his son, Joshua, who's in Charlottesville, police officer, from Saved in America. You're listening to the Community Spotlight Show here on Cloudcast Media Radio. We are brought to you by Retirement Strategies Group. Retirement made simple, folks.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
Welcome to Cloudcast 180. We're here live with Karen Terra, and we've got 3 minutes. Karen, welcome to Cloudcast 180, CEO of Emilio Norris Foundation. Karen, let's get right into it. Can you tell our audience all about the Norris family and how ENF started?
Well, it started with a little boy, Emilio Norris, who was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 3 and sadly passed away shortly before his 6th birthday. And in the time that he was sick and battling his disease in the hospital, his parents, Diane and Richard, noticed that there were families who were not able to get to their cancer treatments because they didn't have a car, or the primary parent who worked took the car to work, so they didn't have access to transportation. So they wanted to do something about it, and they started the Emilio Norris Foundation 15 years ago.
So after 15 years, they turned this tremendous loss into a tremendous amount of love for young people here in San Diego suffering from cancer. So just out of curiosity, how many kids actually miss their cancer treatments due to transportation issues?
Over 3,000 children in Southern California miss their cancer treatments because of lack of transportation. In the last 15 years, since we've been providing Ride with Emilio, we have eliminated that problem. Children are no longer missing their cancer treatments in San Diego and Orange County because of lack of transportation.
You've eliminated the problem. That's the goal of every nonprofit organization. That's incredible.
Yes, we serve every child who needs a ride to their cancer treatment. We serve them. We are able to say with confidence that there is no child in San Diego County who is missing his cancer treatment.
Now, you have something really special coming up, I understand. 1 million miles you've driven.
Yes, that will happen early next year in February. We're really excited about that. That's pretty significant. So in the 15 years that we've been in operation, we will have traveled 1 million miles driving children to and from their chemo treatments, their cancer treatments, whatever they need for us to ensure that they will get to their treatments on time every time.
I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment. How do folks get involved with ENF? And then tell us what's next.
Well, they can come to our website at enfhope.org and find all the information about all of our programs there. As we mentioned, in February, we're going to be launching our 1 millionth mile campaign. And it's going to be a month-long campaign in March, and it's starting in February and then in March. And it's going to be concentrating on raising funds to make sure that these children still are able to get to their chemo treatments.
That's incredible. ENF.org. Get involved. Turning Loss into Love. Amelia Norris Foundation.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
The San Diego Union Tribune and Retirement Strategies Group present the Union Tribune Community Spotlight Show with your host, Drew Schlossberg.
I'm Drew Schlossberg of the San Diego Union Tribune. We are back with Joseph Travers. He is the founder and executive director of Saved in America, joined by his son, Joshua Travers, in from Charlottesville, Virginia. Police officer there is also a case manager for Saved in America. So what's the website? How can people support your efforts, Joseph?
Well, it's savedinamerica.org, savedinamerica.org. There's volunteer opportunities. There's all different types of opportunities. We just did a new media page, so you can see all the different media. And some of the media actually shows, for example, HBO Vice, NBC Nightly News, and Full Measure News, where we covered a child with them. They were with us. And so you get to see that. And there's some operations we did that we put on there too. So you can see, like, we partnered with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We went out with this beautiful mobile command center that the County Board of Supervisors got us, so we can do multiple operations and go out of state. So we've done 2 operations in Las Vegas, basically because we have this mobile command center. So it's just wonderful to be able to go and teach the methods that were developed in this county, in San Diego, and teach those to other counties across the nation.
So talk about those. What would those methods be? Give some examples.
Well, there's 6-step method.
Yeah.
Yeah. What we do is that the first one, obviously, is the parental contact, and to establish all the intelligence we can from parent, friends, family. Move that over to our social networking investigator, who might do a matrix on, we're talking a variety of social networking, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, the common ones, and also downloaded apps.
Now, and is that what Joshua does?
No, that's one of our operators that runs what we call our Tech Ops division. In the Tech Ops division, you have to be proficient in social networking investigation and be able to certified to fly a drone for our technology. Once we get that, we start to go to workable intelligence, and then we team up our police operators with our special ops operators and go out to verify whether the intelligence is good or not. Simultaneously, it goes to Joshua, and he maintains the files to preserve the evidence for future criminal prosecution or civil prosecution, and we've been successful suing the places where they've have been raped. The girls have been raped and sold, and that money goes to the child's rehabilitation and vocational training. So once it gets through that, then it goes to what we call our actionable intelligence, where we do our long-term surveillance and coordination with the local police, where we call them, say, this is where we're at, this is what we know. When we get eyes on the child, we will call you, and you come get her, and whatever bad guy is there. And then the last phase, of course, is the rehabilitation phase, civil prosecution, criminal prosecution. So those are 6 steps.
Right, exactly. So that's what you work with some of the other groups on. So what would a volunteer do? What would a volunteer work and help your efforts? How would they do that? What would they do?
Well, we have of course, our operator volunteers,
right? Okay.
Who would go out and actually do these investigations,
gotcha. Okay,
and the surveillance. But we have other volunteers. Of course, we have a incredible fundraising person, right? Sharon Smith.
Right.
She's just incredible.
Right.
And our advisory board, as you talked about, Stephanie Brown. So we have an incredible advisory board. And we also have other people that assist in other ways, with our website, social networking, media, to get the word out. Because what we want to do, like I said, we want to stay as a preventive as much as possible. We want to get information to parents about their children. One thing we just did, last week it came out, and we had it ready for the fundraiser. We've developed a coloring book for children between 6 and 11 years old, and that is being punished, money from a donor, so we can take the mobile command center out to elementary schools give them a Saved in America coloring book with crayons so they can see who the good guys are and the bad guys are according to their mental capacity as an elementary school child.
Right. One of the things that I was going to mention this to you, do you work with a lot of school groups or maybe the adults in this and let them know what they should be looking at and looking for?
That is the phase that the school groups were going into with the coloring book.
Right. So okay, I got, and so, Joshua, you've been involved for how long now?
Since the very beginning, 2014, I was actually sitting on the couch across from him when we came up with the idea.
No, that's terrific. And so has your dad followed your advice pretty much, or there's some things you need to teach him?
Everything that comes across the table, Saved in America, I'm usually the first phone call that comes his way. I'm sitting in my patrol car now, and he calls me, and I put it on the Bluetooth while I'm driving, and we're trying to go over it real quick before I go to the next call.
Right. Have there been any cases in Charlottesville at all?
None in Charlottesville. Because we're still developing the team in what we call the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia.
Right.
We're getting the team certified through the vetting process that we have for the operators. And as soon as that's done, we're hoping by the turn of the year, we can go ahead and do our first DMV area operation.
Right. And again, as you were mentioning, Joseph, there's got to be a lot of cooperation with the. Do you work with the FBI at all?
We've had a couple cases where FBI they were involved.
Right.
But the way we work with law enforcement is basically information from us goes out to them.
Right.
We don't expect any information from them coming to us because of confidentiality issues.
Right. Exactly. And again, as we all know, especially in our field, Union Tribune multimedia business, it's all about accurate information that's in a timely manner, of course. And if it's not accurate, you correct it as soon as you can possibly do that. You talked about the mobile command center. Explain.
The mobile command center, it was a gift, like I said, from the County Board of Supervisors, so we can do multiple operations in one area. So, for an example, let's say we have 2 or 3 missing children. It might be in the southeast corner of San Diego County. Well, we can take this mobile command center 5-10 miles from the middle of the radius or diameter of where these children are, and we can send out teams to all these different locations to do workable intel. And as soon as we get something that's actionable, we can call everyone together back to the actionable site.
Right. And the command center is gone as far as where? How far have you had it out? You mentioned Vegas. Okay.
To Las Vegas, and we have a fundraiser in Vegas with a joint operation, right, in April of 2020. And then in May, we're going to go to Florida, do the same thing, a joint operation with law enforcement in Florida with a fundraiser and education.
Nice.
So we do educational things too. And this is going to be in conjunction with the National Association of Missing Exploited Children and the Florida Association of Licensed Investigators who want to come on board and assist. And also we're going to do one in Arizona. I believe that's scheduled for early October next year. And then, of course, our 4th annual fundraiser here in San Diego in November 2020.
So you're bringing on more people. I mean, it sounds like you're getting busier by the second, for God's sake, which is a good thing in a way, in the sense you got more people helping you. It'd be nice if you were out of business, I guess, but that's not too realistic, correct?
That's correct. But this is the key, because this model we have here in San Diego County is very progressive as far as moving to try to do something about this. So we're taking this model, like I talked about, the big study by Dr. Amy Carpenter and Dr. Jamie Gates, the work with Summer Steffen, the work that everybody's doing here, package it and take it out to the country. Right.
Well, and it can be replicable in this aspect of it. So how have your colleagues, Joshua, they've embraced this, they pretty much full throttle, correct?
Oh, yes. My colleagues, I have a minimum of 3 people in my department that were immediately, as soon as I heard about it, they were on board. They're going through the vetting process. It's something that I think transcends state lines, party
Absolutely.
lines, beliefs, everything, because everybody wants, the children to be protected.
Right. And do you see this, and obviously with that massive number you were mentioning, 300,000, runaways, you were saying maybe 30% of them go into, human trafficking here. And this is just in the U.S. Do you see this going across borders at all somewhere down the road with our friends down south of the border and north of the border?
Well, we recovered or assisted in the recovery of 5 children from Mexico who are American children.
Right.
So, but our focus here is with our international borders. Now, there's a great organization, Operation Underground Railroad, that goes outside of the borders, and they're an incredible organization. And when we get cases that go outside of the U.S.,
right,
we refer the person to them.
Right. We got about a minute to go here. Any final comments?
Just that I just appreciate you so much. I appreciate the county for the support that they've given us and to help us do this tremendous it's a tremendous responsibility, but it's such a good blessing because I can tell you right now, we're volunteers, but we get paid more than anyone in the world. We get the look in a parent's eyes when we help recover their child.
Yeah, well, I don't think there can be a better look than that. And Joshua, thanks for coming in. When you heading back to Virginia?
I'm heading back Monday night. I just wanted to share with everybody too.
Yeah.
If you want to, I know the average person says, how can we help? We'll spread the word. When you spread the word, go ahead, hashtag child saved not sold, hashtag saved in America.
That sounds good, and best wishes to you back in Charlottesville and all that business. And Joseph, thank you for everything you're doing, and give a big high five to Stephanie Brown for us.
I will. I'll give her 2 high fives.
That 2 high fives is great. I'm Drew Schlossberg of the San Diego Union Tribune. You've been listening to the Community Spotlight Show here on Cloudcast Media Radio. We're brought to you by Retirement Strategies Group, the retirement made simple, folks.
Thank you for listening to a podcast from Cloudcast Media, the digital media home for leading local brands. When it comes to amplifying your brand, a Cloudcast-sponsored show offers unbeatable value. Learn more at cloudcast.us.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
Welcome to Cloudcast 180, the 3-minute lightning round with changemakers here in San Diego. We're here with Ed Heiner, 20-year Navy SEAL, best-selling author, and education entrepreneur. Ed, welcome to the Cloudcast 180.
Thanks for having me.
Your book was called First Fast Fearless, so let's hit this fast and fearlessly. Real quick, you created a program to help change lives of high school students around the country. It's called SEALpreneurship. Tell our audience what it's all about.
Well, it's about leading yourself. Getting a PhD in me, I teach kids how to take care of themselves and lead themselves first, and how to be their own entrepreneur, intrapreneur, if you will.
Is it something you think public education is lacking, this concept of self-leadership?
Absolutely. It's a mindset that kids don't get. My son doesn't get in his school. The kids don't get it. It's something that, we're educating them, but to be mentally tough and be able to take charge of themselves and accountable for themselves is very unique.
Okay. I've seen an overview of your curriculum, 23 evolutions, and you have a 23-minute podcast series. So what's up with 23?
Chromosomes, right? It's all in all of us. We're all the same. 99.9% of everybody in this world is the same. And we use those chromosomes, 23 pairs, which was one of the concepts we teach is swim buddies, never be alone. Mm-hmm. Always work with someone else, collaborate, and be out there.
Boy, that's a lesson for life for sure. Ed, you were in charge of basic and advanced training for the U.S. Navy SEALs, and I mentioned you're a 20-year SEAL. Tell our audience the greatest lesson from the SEALs that have changed you forever.
Probably in the back of a helicopter one night in Iraq before I was getting ready to fly into an Al-Qaeda target, it dawned on me that when a pilot said you have this many souls on board, it dawned on me that the opposite of fear is love. It's not else. I don't fight for what I hate in front of me. I fight for what's beside me and behind me that I love.
Wow, it's a powerful concept. Wow. You've talked a lot about the blue-collar scholar as a concept. Fascinating. Tell our audience, what is the blue-collar scholar as it relates to your SEALpreneurship program?
It's a mental concept where people take control. Don't outsource their life. Look, we're going to have people that are in white coats, suits and ties, doctors, PhDs. That's fine. Listen to that and learn your information from them. But eventually, you got to be that mechanic in your own life. You got to turn the wrench. This is happening. So basically take control of your own life Use what you can use from other people, discard it, what you can't, and make that your own. Leadership is something that you do. It's you do with people, not to them. And one of the best forms of leadership I learned in the back of that helicopter is called MOM.
Ed,
Focus
thanks.
on mission, others, me.
Mission, others, me. Ed, thank you for being here. This has been the Cloudcast 180. We hit it fast and fearlessly. We're out.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.